Hello and welcome to Week Slam with your host, Sam, where the goal of my channel is to try out a new hobby, interest, or activity for 1 week straight and give you guys the progress update about what you can learn in 5 days. Although, this episode is going to be a little different than usual. Instead of trying to learn a new hobby, I'll be revisiting all of the previous activities for this season, then rank them in order of my most to least favorite, with a few behind-the-scenes stories in between. And don't worry, if you missed an episode, this finale will double as a recap. So, with introductions out of the way, let's begin our countdown. Hello, and starting off with this golf at Top Golf Baton Rouge, my buddy Trey. We're recording our skill to the test by going to the basement. Let's roll. First off, I wanted to apologize about the loud noise. If you've never been to Topgolf, you can tell by that intro, it's a little bit loud in there. Even though it's not my favorite sport, I still enjoy going to Topgolf and playing a few rounds with friends. To this day, I still have not played a real game of golf, but am planning one in the upcoming weeks with my Uncle Dean, so we'll finally get to see if practice pays off. Looking back at the golfing episode, my biggest critique would actually be how long I made the history bit. At that point in time, golfing was only the third episode on the channel, so I was still figuring out how long each segment should be. After the first 2 episodes came out, I got some feedback saying how people really enjoyed the history bit and thought it would be a good idea to extend it. However, too much of a good thing can ruin it. So, without even realizing, I began making the history around twice as long as it should have been. After doing this a few more times, I began to realize it didn't quite match the flow of the episodes, so I corrected it. Now, going back to our night at Topgolf, I wasn't a pro by any means, but did see a lot more consistency when using the techniques learned from the episode. Towards the end of the evening, our left-handed server Michael showed us his secret technique of hitting a right-handed driver upside down about 50 times farther than I could have, which was by far the coolest thing I saw all night.
Hello and welcome to rifle spinning, the 11th spot on our list, but not for the reason you would expect. Rifle spinning is actually a backup of what the 10th activity was supposed to be. So, to give you guys the full story, let me play a small clip to show you what we were supposed to do for episode 10. Hello, we are here on day number 1 of horseback riding with my friend Sophie.
Hello.
At the Madisonville Equestrian Center, right?
Yep.
Perfect, and we're gonna be doing some basic trail riding.
Can you believe the 10th activity was supposed to be horseback riding? As you saw in the clip, the first day was no problem, and we even got a little riding in. However, the challenge came later in the week. I was able to film the first 3 days no problem, but on Thursday, Bruno, the horse I was riding, got an injury in his leg and had to recover before being ridden again. Now you're probably thinking, why didn't I just hop on another horse and keep riding? Well, it turns out that your height and weight play a significant role in what size horse you can ride. And since I'm well over 6 foot, Bruno was the only horse big enough for me. To give you guys an idea, look at this clip of Bruno standing next to me and you'll see exactly why I couldn't just jump on another horse. So with Bruno out on sick leave, I had to bookmark horseback riding and find a replacement activity pronto, which was rifle spinning. To tell you the truth, I had a lot of fun learning, and you feel like the Terminator snapping the rifle up after a good spin. And of course, I gotta give a huge shout out to Chris for teaching and letting me borrow his rifle during the episode. Before going to the next spot on our list, let me ask you guys a question. Would you like to see another attempt at horseback riding in a future episode? Because I thought it was a lot of fun and wouldn't mind trying again. Now, on to number 10. Hello, and the 10th spot on our list is baking with my friend Molly.
Hi, I'm Molly.
And today, we're going to be making 2 very special Disney-themed dishes, with the first one being Tigger Tails, and the second one,
The Great Stuff from Beauty and the Beast.
awesome. So without any further ado, let's get to baking. Coming in at 10th place on our list is baking, but not for the reason you would expect. It may come as a surprise, but I'm actually always in the kitchen trying a new recipe, which is why the baking episode sort of caught me off guard. Not only is it hard work, when you're baking, you're on your feet the entire time, which is why my hat's off to any bakers or chefs watching. So, in addition to being physically exhausted, when I filmed the episode, by the end of the week, I had made like 6 total desserts, so I started feeling pretty queasy at the end of the week. Although this week, my awesome friend Molly came by to help bake some Disney treats that was a lot more fun than the first go around. In addition to working with one of the biggest Disney fanatics I know, we got to make a dessert from one of my favorite shows as a kid, Winnie the Pooh. Personally, the Tigger Tails were a little too sweet for me since it was marshmallow dipped in caramel and chocolate, rolled in sprinkles, then drizzled with more chocolate on top. So today, my favorite were the cupcakes with a simple box batter and easy frosting made by cooling some Oreo pudding in the freezer. I also wanted to give a huge shout out to Molly for helping today and say that she actually makes custom Mickey ears for all you Disney fanatics out there. That can be found on her Instagram at Molly's Phantasmic Ears, which I'll throw in the description below. Now, on to number 9. Hello, and coming in at 9th place on our list is origami, or the art of folding paper. And considering I haven't done any origami since that last episode, I'm going to try and make a crane without assistance. We'll see how that goes, and then I'm going to look up a video online. Let's go. Alright, I gave it my best attempt and made it about 70% there before having to look up a guide. Overall, I like origami and find it really interesting, but haven't really been practicing for a couple reasons. Unlike some activities, origami is completely hands-on from start to finish, which can be challenging if you don't have a ton of free time. And secondly, it's hard to do origami on the go unless you carry around folding paper and have a flat surface to use at all times. So that's a few of the reasons why I haven't been practicing too much. Going back to the origami episode, a good friend of mine said it would have been cool to see some overhead shots of me folding the actual paper, which I corrected today. And looking back, I'd say the origami was probably the funniest episode with our tribute to Precious at the end.
And coming in at 8th place is off-road rollerblades, where we have an actual cameraman this time who's going to be showing the blades in action. Let's roll.
If you couldn't tell by my initial struggle, the blades work fine on smooth ground or slightly rocky terrain. But the second you step in some mud or tall grass, they don't really want to move. And before filming this segment, I made sure to have an actual cameraman, which is one of the biggest critiques of the original episode, not being able to see the blades in action. In the first season, there were 3 activities that weren't suggestions but Sam's pick, with the first one obviously being the unicycle. We'll find out number 2 later on, but the story behind off-road rollerblades is that I saw them online, thought they were cool, and wanted to review them on the channel. Unfortunately, I don't live in the optimal terrain or temperature for them, which is why I haven't really used them again until today. I'm still debating on whether or not I want to keep them and save them for a special trip up north, or just selling them and buying a mountain bike, which is just as fun and a heck of a lot easier.
Hey guys, coming in at 7th place is wood carving, where we'll be trying to make our smiling dwarf once again, from memory this time. Let's see how it goes.
Okay, it wasn't entirely from memory. I did have my little dwarf in front of me for reference, but didn't use any guides or videos. The dwarf I made today came out okay, although I noticed the smaller piece of wood you use, the harder it is to get those fine details like in his face and hands. So that's why I prefer using a bigger piece of wood like in the original video. Since the episode, I've only carved one dwarf with my brother, who actually got into carving before me. And, similar to origami, wood carving requires your complete attention or else you can seriously hurt yourself. Not to mention, it's quite time consuming, which is another reason why I haven't done too much carving. Like I mentioned in the original episode, carving that first dwarf took forever and was by far one of the most difficult activities in this entire season. So, maybe one day when I'm old and I've tried every hobby known to man, I'll sit down and become a wood carving master, but not today. Let's move on to the next activity.
We have made it to number 6 on our list with archery. I haven't done much shooting since the episode, so I'm gonna try out this new bow and see if I still got the skill. Let's go.
Oh yeah, I still got it. Not gonna lie, I love archery, and only quit doing it because I returned my bow. The reason I returned it is that after shooting for the first week, I realized I wanted a bow with more power than the 20-pounder. So I sent it back and plan on getting one that's about 35 pounds. The bow I was using today is kind of like a hybrid between a compound and a recurve, although I still prefer a classic recurve the best. Now, we've made it halfway through our list. Any guesses what's coming next?
Hello, and welcome to 4th and 5th place, with 4th being the unicycle and 5th being the drone. Today, we're gonna be trying to go as far as I can with the unicycle while following on the drone camera. Let's roll.
Unlike our next two activities, the unicycle and drone don't have too much in common. However, since we were running out of daylight pretty quickly, I decided to record them together. Starting off with drone flying, I enjoyed filming this one for a couple of reasons. The first being that the previous episode was wood carving, and the most challenging by far. So, having an easier activity afterwards was more than welcome. And secondly, having my dad on the show was awesome. Honestly, the biggest hurdle of drone flying is just spending the money on a decent drone, which is why I got lucky by knowing some people that already had their own. I'm still debating on buying one, and I guarantee if I do, you'll see it in a future episode. The next activity on our list is the one that started it all. Today, we went on a short ride at the lakefront with my brother Chase recording, although I still haven't quite figured out how to free mount yet, so I had to phone a friend for assistance. I really enjoy riding the unicycle and want to get one with a bigger wheel so it's not as tiring to ride. If I remember correctly, the idea of learning the unicycle came about in late 2019, when my brother, dad, and I were hanging out and unicycles happened to come up in conversation, as they normally do. I thought it'd be fun to learn, so I looked it up on Letgo and found one for about $50. Oh, I should also mention, this is whenever Week Slam was still in the planning phase, so once I actually bought the thing, it sat in my trunk for about 6 months until I finally filmed the first episode. It's really interesting going back and watching the first episode in comparison to the more recent ones. Seeing my improvement both on camera and with editing over time is pretty cool as well. So, despite being a little choppy and not enough lighting, the first episode was a great start and got us to where we're at today.
What is up? YouTube. Coming in at third place is juggling, followed by a very close bid for second with the slack line. Today, I'll be warming up on the line for about 30 minutes since I haven't done it in forever, and then I'll be trying to juggle on the line. Let's go.
Since I had so much fun recording the juggling episode, I decided to combine the two activities again, which was just about as tricky as I remember. The idea of combining the slams was actually tossed around way back in episode 1, whenever I saw Miss Kim's comment about juggling, and thought to myself, I wonder if I can do that on the unicycle. And with the slackline being episode 2, I knew it had to be done. With slacklining being the final pick of my chosen 3 activities, the story goes back to around November of last year, when I saw it on Amazon and thought it would be cool to learn. Although, just like the unicycle, I was still in the planning phases of my channel, so after it arrived, it sat in my closet unopened for about 6 months. See, even way back then, before the first episode was released, I had to be true to the fans and come at it of no prior experience. Going back to today, it had been like a month or 2 since I practiced, so I really needed to warm up. Although, once you learn, it's kind of like riding a bike that violently shakes and bounces. You never really forget. I've still got a good ways to go, but eventually I want to try highlining down the road.
And our final activity is my personal favorite, the ukulele. Since the episode, I've practiced the ukulele almost every single day and absolutely fell in love with the instrument. So today, I'll be demoing a few of the songs I've been learning. Check it out.
After filming the ukulele episode, I knew for a fact this was something I had to keep on practicing. The ukulele is so much fun to play and always brings a smile to anyone listening, which is one of the many reasons why I love it. One thing I would change about the original video is to recommend Cynthia Lynn's YouTube channel. She is an awesome teacher that's super beginner friendly and shares all of her song tabs for free, which is not the case for most YouTubers out there. So if you're thinking of learning, I would definitely recommend checking her channel out. Over the years, I've dabbled in a bunch of instruments, but haven't stuck with anything as long as the ukulele. It's honestly just a blast to play and I love it, so that's why it's my top pick for Season 1. Alright guys, that is it for the Season 1 finale of Week Slam with your host, Sam. What was your favorite activity on the list, and what would you like to see in Season 2? Speaking of Season 2, to give you an update, production has begun on the first episode, and it should be out sometime early next year. I also wanted to give a big thanks to you guys for watching. I love making these videos, and honestly, it wouldn't be as much fun without you. But before you go, I have two very special announcements to make. The first is that in every single episode since the beginning, there have been 2 hidden Easter eggs somewhere in the video, and the first person to comment what they are will win a mystery prize. And the second announcement is that before the next season starts, I plan on releasing a special, one-of-a-kind video unlike anything I've done so far. And that's it for now. Thanks for watching and see you guys next time.
What should I say? Blooper reel. Kneeling or standing? I don't even know.
Just stand. Just to show the scale.
Oh. Hey, watch out. What is up? Nope. What is up? Nope. What is up? What is up? What is up? YouTube.
So with Bruno out on sick leave, coming in at 10th place on our list. However, this personally, if you couldn't tell by okay, unlike our next 2 activities. In the first season, there were 3 activities, with slacklining being the final pick.
I feel the musicians struggle. He did it! How'd you know? Magic! Magic!